Okay, so we're moving from D towards E, so we are closer to D like you guys stated. Okay, so get into the habit of circling the word from, okay, and then putting an arrow in the direction you're moving. So from D towards E. So number 1 says, what would be the coordinates of a point that is 1/3 the distance from V to A? Okay, so I'm moving from V towards A. Okay, the first thing that you're going to want to do is calculate your total distance. Okay, it's going to be total distance times fractional distance. Okay, in this case, what is the length of VA? 9 units. And what is our fractional distance? 1/3. So 9 times 1/3 is going to give you what? 3. Okay, so I'm moving from V to A. So what point am I starting at? V, and I'm moving 3 units. So what is my new coordinate? -3, -4. Any questions so far on fractional distance? Okay. Number 2, what would be the coordinates of a point that is 3/4 the distance from T to R? So from T moving towards R. Okay, what do I need to calculate first? Total distance, which is what? 8, and my fractional distance is? Okay, 8 times 3/4 is going to give you what? 6. Okay, what point am I starting at? And moving towards R, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then also just use common sense, okay? If a number is greater than half, or your fractional distance is greater than half, you should be more than halfway, okay? So in this case, we are 3/4, so I need to be more than halfway across. So if I started at R, okay, I know I would be wrong. Questions on number 2? Okay. Okay, so when you're dealing with fractional distance, it's not always going to be super easy when the line is horizontal or vertical and you can just count. But we do have ways after last class of calculating the distance between 2 points if it's diagonal. And how was that? How could we find that distance? Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula. So you had 2 ways. Okay? So in number 3, it says find the coordinates of point M that is half the distance from T to R. So we're starting from T, moving towards R. And you might think it's silly to draw the arrows, but I promise you it will prevent an easy mistake like moving from R to T. Okay? So it says find the horizontal distance from T to R. Okay, so if I'm drawing my right triangle, what would be my horizontal distance from T to R? 4. And what is my vertical distance? 6. Okay, and it says to find half the distance of segment TR, we need to find the horizontal and vertical half distance. So it says multiply the horizontal distance by 6. So, by half. So 4 times 1/2 is going to give you what? 2. This is how many units you're going to move horizontally. Multiply the vertical distance by half, so 6 times 1/2, and you get 3. This is how many points you are going to move vertically. Okay, what point are we starting at? T. So we are moving horizontally 2 units, so 1, 2, and moving up 3. 1, 2, 3. If you do it right, you should be on your line. If you go the wrong way, you're going to be in space. Okay, so make sure you move in the direction of the line. Okay, so right 2, up 3, and what point is that? 2, 3. And that point is halfway, which is M, okay, halfway between T and R. Okay, question about number 3. Okay, I want you guys to do number 4 on your own. Find the point that is 2/3 of the distance from C to D. So find your horizontal distance, your vertical distance, and then multiply by that fractional distance. Okay, what was your horizontal distance? 3. And your vertical? Okay, when you multiplied those by 2/3, what did you get? 2 and 4. Okay, what point were you starting at? C. Raise your hand if you started at D. Okay, so this is why we draw those arrows. Okay, you're moving from C to D. Okay, so we're going horizontally 2 units and then vertically 4 units. Okay, and what's your point? -2, 2. Okay, so if you went from D to C, you got the wrong answer. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to the direction you are moving. Questions? Okay, get your vocab sheet out. We're just going to fill in quick 3 words. Don't put those away, we're not done. All we're doing is doing our vocab real quick. Alright, the first word was midpoint. What is a midpoint? What is a midpoint? A point that is halfway between 2 points. So, a point exactly halfway between the endpoints of a line segment. Okay, is B my midpoint?
Yes.
Are we sure? Positive. Very good. In order for it to be a midpoint, unless it states that it is, it has got to be marked. You cannot assume that it is the midpoint. Okay? So it has got to have markings that A and B are congruent to B and C. Okay, next one is between. What does it mean for something to be between? Not in the middle. Midpoint's in the middle.
That's someplace along the line connecting the two. At some point,
I get what you're trying to say, but it's hard to not use the word between, huh? So, who has a way that you could say it?
A point somewhere inside two other points.
Perfect. A point somewhere inside of two endpoints. A point somewhere inside of two endpoints of a line segment. Okay, so just because K is between J and L does not make JK equal to KL. Okay, so make sure you don't get confused between and midpoint. Okay, last one is bisector. What does it mean for something to be bisected? Cut into two. Okay, so it could be a line or a line segment. Or a ray, but it cuts an object into two equal parts. So, a line segment, or a ray that cuts an object into two equal parts. Okay, does ray BD bisect angle ABC? Does ray BD bisect angle ABC? I hear a sure, I hear a yes. So if that is a bisector, what does that tell you about that figure? Okay, it's symmetrical. In other words, both angles are congruent, correct? Okay, so in order for you to know that this is for sure an angle bisector, you have got to make sure your angles are marked congruent. Okay, if it's just in the middle or it appears to be in the middle, you cannot assume that it's being bisected. It has got to have markings. So get into the habit of everything has to have markings. Bless you. Okay, that's it on the vocab. Are we good? Mm-hmm. Okay, back to the notes. Okay, you need your compass. Okay, it wants you to construct a segment AB. So how you choose to do that is up to you. You are going to use a compass and a straight edge. Okay, I would make my length like 2 inches, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, so remember when you're constructing a segment, you start with a point. Then put your metal end or your non-pencil side on that point. Choose how big you want your segment to be. Like I said, I would keep it at like 2 inches. And then make a mark. Where you make the mark is where you're going to put your other point. Use your straight edge and draw a line. Okay, that is segment AB. Okay, make sure you do not adjust your compass. Keep that distance. Okay, and turn the page. So keep your AB distance and turn the page. Okay, because now we are going to copy that segment in the space provided. So start with a point. Using your compass, you're going to make another AB line. And draw a line. Okay, does everybody remember copying line segment? Okay, that was from last class. Okay, our new thing is not hard at all. Okay? You can start at either endpoint. You're going to do the same thing to each side. Okay? Using your compass, take your non-pencil side and put it on A or B. It does not matter which one you start with. I'm going to start with B. Okay? You're going to expand your compass so that it is over halfway. Okay? Don't go all the way. You just want it to be barely over halfway. Okay? And once you have it over halfway, you are going to make a half circle. Okay? I find it easier to rotate my paper than it is to rotate the compass. So I just put pressure on the point and then I just spin my paper. Okay, once you've done that from point B, without adjusting your compass at all, you're just going to flip it over to point A and do the same thing. Draw your little semicircle. Okay, so all I did was take my compass and I switched it from point B to point A and drew my circle. Okay, once you've done that, you're looking at your 2 points of intersection on your semicircles. So using your straight edge, line those babies up and draw a line. Okay, where it intersected line segment AB, that is where you're plotting the midpoint H. Okay, now it says construct a midpoint of AH. Okay, and label that F. So on your own this time, see if you remember those steps, and now you're constructing the midpoint of just AH. And then the same thing, line up your points of intersection. And label that F. Any questions on constructing midpoint? Ask now if you have them. Okay, because those are the only two practice ones that we're doing in our notes. So ask. What'd you say? So when you're applying the pressure on the point, apply all the pressure on the non-pencil side. If you try to go like this, like chopsticks, it will collapse. So just hold that one side and rotate your paper. It's the easiest way. So you never hold both of them like this. Otherwise it will collapse and change on you. Only hold one side. Okay. Number 3 says draw and label MN. Okay, so notice how these say construct. That's when you use your compass. Okay, when it says draw, you can just sketch. You can make your own drawing. Okay, so it says draw and label MN. So draw MN. Draw a midpoint P on your segment. What do we need to have to show that P is my midpoint? Some markings. Okay? If MN from question 3 is 16 centimeters, what would be the length of PN? Sweet. if MP is 7 centimeters, what would be the length of MN?
14.
Very good. Okay, on a test, this could have some like algebra. It could say this is 5x plus 10 and this is x plus 2. And you would have to solve for x. How would you solve that?
Equal.
Set it equal to each other and then you just solve for x. Because you know that those two are congruent. Okay, number 4 is B the midpoint of AC.
No.
Okay, what does it need in order to show that it is?
The line.
The little marking. Okay, what is the fractional distance, so that term that we used at the beginning of our notes, that B is from A to C? What is the fractional distance that B is from A to C?
1/2.
1/2. Okay, so your midpoints always have a fractional distance of 1/2. Your midpoints always have a fractional distance of 1/2. Questions on this page? Okay, turn it. Okay, referring back to question 2, part B. Okay, what is the fractional distance that F is from A to B? So what is F from A to B? So if H is 1/2, what is F? 1/4. Very good. Okay, last little thing that we have to do for our notes. Okay, and then we'll take our quiz. Midpoint. Okay, we have a beautiful little thing here called a midpoint formula. X1 plus X2 divided by 2. And then Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. Okay, so always start with labeling your points. It does not matter which one you label, X1 and X2, just be consistent, so make sure that your little numbers always match per coordinate. Okay, so I'm adding my X's together and dividing by 2, and adding my Y's together and dividing by 2. -4 plus 2 is what?
-2.
-2 divided by 2.
-1.
Awesome. 8 plus 4 divided by 2. Okay, so your midpoint would be at -1, 6. So try number 2 on your own. Okay, what'd you guys get as a midpoint?
5, -1.
5, -1. Awesome, I agree. Questions over the midpoint formula? Okay, number 3, find the midpoint of M of WH with endpoints -6, 8. So plot your points. And 4, 2. What is the distance from W to M? Okay, so what do we have to plot first? Okay, and then what do we have to find next? The midpoint. Okay, so I have my points here. Okay, so take a minute and find the midpoint. What is the midpoint?
-1, 5.
-1, 5. Awesome. Okay, so plot that point. Label it M. Okay, now how can we find the distance from WM? Or what is the distance of WM would be the more appropriate way to word that. How do we find the length of this segment? Yeah. Distance formula, what else could you do? Pythagorean theorem. So do whichever way you prefer. Okay. I think Pythagorean theorem is quicker, but if you want to use the distance formula, go for it. And find the distance of WM. What did you guys get for the length of WM?
530.
Is that whatever square root of 34 is? Awesome. Okay, that is all I have for you today. Any questions over midpoints and bisectors? Yes?
Would we ever be required to do the distance formula instead of the pi number? You can do whatever you want.
You can do it however you want, because they're the same thing. Okay, if there aren't any questions, then clear out your desk. All you need is a pencil. Calculators and all that can go on the floor for the time being. So you need a pencil and your testing folder.